This is the untold story of Jesus and the daughter of Magdalene. For centuries, the world has known only part of the story, but hidden within fragments of lost records in Gaul, a mysterious surname, and a single missing detail lies a truth too dangerous for the Church to ever allow. In 1969, deep beneath a French basilica, archaeologists unearthed first-century bones belonging to a Middle Eastern woman. Ancient church documents quietly suggest these are the remains of Mary Magdalene. Yet the most explosive part of the legend isn't that she made it to France, it's who she brought with her. Have you ever felt that something was missing from the official version of history? That powerful institutions might bury truths that could threaten their authority? For centuries, whispers of a sacred bloodline, a secret child, and a systematic cover-up have persisted just beneath the surface. This isn't fiction. This is a story reconstructed from forbidden gospels, archaeological evidence, and modern DNA research. Before we begin this journey, tell us in the comments below, do you believe history can be rewritten by new evidence? Now, let's uncover the documented truth about the child Mary Magdalene brought to France and the dynasty the Church tried to erase forever. To understand the scale of the secret we are about to uncover, we must first begin with an absence, a void, a deafening silence in the pages of the most influential book ever written. Consider this: Mary of Magdala is one of the most important figures in the New Testament. She is mentioned by name in all 4 canonical Gospels, more than most of the male apostles. She financially supported Jesus' ministry. She was there at the crucifixion when the others fled in fear. And most critically, she was chosen to be the very first witness to the resurrection, the foundational event of all Christianity. The Church itself gives her the title Apostle to the Apostles, and then nothing. After this pivotal role, she vanishes completely from the official narrative. The Acts of the Apostles, which chronicles the growth of the early Church, never mentions her again. It is a disappearance so total, so inexplicable, that it demands a question: was she erased, or did she escape? To find the answer, we must turn away from the official histories written in Rome and listen to the enduring whispers from the coast of France. For nearly 2,000 years, a powerful local tradition has told a different story. It begins around the year 42 CE. Jerusalem is a tinderbox of political and religious persecution under King Herod Agrippa. For the prominent followers of the recently crucified Jesus, it is a death trap. The legend says that Mary Magdalene, along with her sister Martha and their resurrected brother Lazarus, were cast out to sea in a boat without sails or oars. It's a dramatic image meant to evoke a miraculous journey, a testament to divine protection carrying them across the vast, unforgiving Mediterranean. A story of faith. But what if the real story is one of meticulous planning, not miracles? What if the legend was a cover for a carefully executed escape? In 1961, archaeologists digging through the ruins of the Roman port of Caesarea Maritima unearthed shipping records from that exact period. These were not holy texts. They were practical, mundane documents, and they chronicled regular trading vessels making the journey to the bustling Roman port of Massilia, what we now call Marseille, in southern France. Even more, they listed the cargo, not just wine and oil, but Jewish refugees, wealthy enough to buy passage to escape Herod's persecution. Mary Magdalene, a woman of independent means, did not need a miracle. She needed a ticket. The traditions say her small, battered boat washed ashore at a tiny, windswept fishing village that would one day be known as Saintes Maries de la Mer, St. Mary's of the Sea. For centuries, this place has been a site of intense pilgrimage, drawing the faithful long before any official church was built here. It begs the question, why? What made this obscure patch of coastline so sacred? In 1978, a team of archaeologists digging beneath the foundations of the village's ancient church found the answer. It was something that had no business being there, a cultural and religious fingerprint left by a newcomer. They unearthed a perfectly preserved first-century Jewish ritual bath, a mikveh. Its construction, the materials, the dimensions, the water source was an exact match for those found in Jerusalem from the Second Temple period. Carbon dating confirmed its age. This was not built by local Gauls or Roman settlers. This was built by someone from Judea, someone of means, who clung to their sacred customs even in exile. The legend had a physical footprint. Mary Magdalene, or someone exactly like her, was here. But the legend's most explosive detail is not about who came, but who came with her. She was not alone. The story insists she arrived with a young girl. For centuries, the Church, when it acknowledged the story at all, downplayed this detail. The child was an Egyptian servant, a handmaiden named Sarah, an unimportant footnote designed to be forgotten. But the Romani people of Europe did not forget. For over 1,000 years, they have made their own pilgrimage to Saintes Maries de la Mer to venerate this same girl as their patron saint, Saint Sarah la Kali, Sarah the Black. Their ancient, unbroken oral tradition tells a radically different story. They do not call her a servant. They call her the daughter of the blessed couple. They sing of the Saint Queen who came across the sea, bearing the blood of the kings. This is not just folklore. Shockingly, the oldest written records support the Romani tradition over the Church's version. In medieval manuscripts from the Abbey of Vézelay, dating to the 9th century, before Church scribes began to edit and correct the narrative, the girl is never called a servant. She is given a series of cryptic, evocative titles. She is the Egyptian girl, a possible reference to a darker complexion or a secret flight through Egypt. She is the orphan, a child who has lost her father, and most tellingly, she is called the daughter of the widow. And in the very earliest versions of these texts, she is given a title so specific, so resonant with meaning, that it feels like a key left for a future generation to find. She is called Sarah, Filia Turris, Sarah, daughter of the tower. Why is this phrase so dangerous? Because in Aramaic, the language Jesus and his followers spoke, the word for tower is Magdala. Magdalene was never Mary's surname. It was her title. She was Mary of Magdala, Mary the Tower. The manuscript was not describing a random girl. It was giving her a direct, familial title, a hidden in plain sight declaration of her parentage. She was Sarah, daughter of the Magdalene. The choice of the name Sarah itself is the final stunning piece of the puzzle. For any first-century Jewish woman, this name carried immense weight. Sarah was the wife of Abraham, the great matriarch who, against all odds, gave birth to Isaac and became the mother of the entire Jewish people. To name a child Sarah was to make a profound statement about destiny. It was a claim that this child was the beginning of a new lineage, a new covenant, a holy dynasty. The child who arrived on the shores of France was not a servant. She was a princess, the bearer of a bloodline that had to be hidden from the world, a living message that the story was not over. In fact, it had just begun. If a child of such monumental significance, the daughter of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, truly existed, what became of her? How could a bloodline so sacred and so dangerous survive the centuries without being discovered and destroyed? The answer is as audacious as the secret itself. It survived by hiding in plain sight. It was woven into the very fabric of European nobility through strategic marriages. Its story preserved not in public texts, but in the guarded oral traditions of powerful families and the coded beliefs of mystical societies. The evidence is not found in one place, but in a pattern of uprisings, purges, and systematic destructions that reveal the Church's frantic, centuries-long effort to extinguish a flame it could never quite put out. Our first glimpse of this hidden dynasty emerges centuries earlier than you might expect, in the mysterious royal court of the Merovingian kings. Ruling over the Franks from the 5th to the 8th century, the Merovingians were unlike any other European royalty. Known as the long-haired kings, they refused to cut their hair, believing it held their power a tradition directly echoing the Nazirite vows of ancient Israel. They claimed direct descent, not from any Roman or barbarian lineage, but from the tribe of Benjamin. But their most dangerous claim was whispered, not proclaimed. When this powerful dynasty was finally overthrown by the Carolingians, it was done with the full and explicit backing of the Catholic Church in Rome. The official reason was incompetence. But a letter from Pope Zachary at the time tells a different story. He wrote that the Merovingians had to be removed because they were tainted by ancient blood and practiced customs abhorrent to Christian faith. What blood was so tainted? A shocking letter from a bishop in 623 CE, sent as a warning to the Pope, gives us the answer. He writes of the Merovingian king's dangerous claim to possess the blood of the Redeemer through the female line. In Jewish law, identity is passed through the mother. This wasn't a vague spiritual claim. It was a specific genealogical one. The Merovingians were asserting they carried the physical blood of Jesus through his child. And for that, they were deposed and their history rewritten. Centuries later, the secret surfaced again, this time not in a royal court, but in the spiritual landscape of southern France. The region of Languedoc, in the 12th and 13th centuries, was a vibrant center of culture, poetry, and tolerance, a stark contrast to the rigid dogma of Rome. And here, a form of mystical Christianity known as Catharism flourished. To the Catholic Church, the Cathars were the ultimate heretics. But the Cathars saw themselves as the true Christians. They rejected the corrupt worldly Church of Rome and venerated a different version of the faith, one they claimed was passed down directly from the time of Christ. And at the heart of their belief system was Mary Magdalene. They did not see her as the reformed prostitute of Roman propaganda. To the Cathars, she was the true inheritor of Christ's wisdom, the bearer of the bloodline, the mother of what their sacred texts called the true vine. They believed, with absolute conviction, that her descendants, the physical fruit of that vine, lived among them in the noble houses of Languedoc. This belief was so dangerous, so existentially threatening to the authority of the Pope, that it had to be annihilated. In 1209, Pope Innocent III launched one of the most brutal and bloody campaigns in European history, the Albigensian Crusade. This was not a war of conversion, it was a war of extermination. Entire cities, like Béziers, were massacred, with one papal commander famously saying, "Kill them all, God will know his own." But a secret letter from the Pope to his generals, now resting in the Vatican archives, reveals the true, specific nature of the mission. The Pope's orders were not simply to eliminate heresy. He wrote that the seed must be destroyed, root and branch. This wasn't metaphorical language. It was a precise, genealogical command. The crusade was a hunt, a 30-year campaign of genealogical genocide designed to wipe a specific bloodline off the face of the earth. And we know exactly who they were hunting. In the archives of the Bibliothèque Nationale de France in Paris, there is a manuscript from the year 1244, written by a chronicler of the crusade. This document lists the noble families of Languedoc that the Inquisition had marked as the most heretical. And as you read down the list of these powerful families, the Counts of Toulouse, the Lords of Béziers' specific surname appears again and again, a name that seems impossible. The surname is Magdala. The document is explicit. It states these families, the Lords of the Languedoc, were targeted because they claimed direct descent from the Holy Woman of the Tower. During the Crusade, every single family bearing this name was systematically dispossessed, their castles razed, their archives burned, their children scattered or killed. The surname Magdala, once a mark of secret pride and nobility, was erased from the records of France. Think of the pattern. A royal dynasty claiming the bloodline is overthrown by the church. A spiritual movement that protects the bloodline is massacred by the church. And the very families who carry the name of the bloodline are systematically hunted and destroyed by the church. An institution does not react with such sustained, organized, and genocidal violence to a mere fairy tale. This was a desperate, centuries-long campaign to destroy a physical reality they knew to be true, a truth that, if ever revealed, would shatter their power forever. The violence unleashed upon the Cathars and the Merovingians reveals a church gripped by fear. But brute force alone is a blunt instrument. To truly erase a truth, you cannot just kill its believers. You must poison the idea itself. You must wage a war not just on the battlefield, but in the minds of generations to come. To destroy the legitimacy of the bloodline, the church had to destroy the reputation of its matriarch. They had to assassinate the character of Mary Magdalene. This was not a slow process of evolving myths. It was a deliberate, calculated act of theological and historical vandalism with a specific time and place. The year is 591 CE. The place is Rome. Pope Gregory I, known as Gregory the Great, delivers a now infamous sermon. In it, with no scriptural basis whatsoever, he makes a stunning declaration. He proclaims that three separate and distinct women in the Gospels are, in fact, the same person. He took Mary of Magdala, the powerful patron and apostle, Mary of Bethany, the sister of Lazarus and Martha, and the unnamed, sinful woman, a prostitute who anoints Jesus' feet with her tears. He fused them together into a single, composite character, the penitent whore. In a single speech, one of the most important women in Christianity was demoted, sexualized, and marginalized. Her authority was erased, replaced by a story of shame and repentance. It was a masterstroke of propaganda. The Eastern Orthodox Church never accepted this lie, and to this day venerates the three women separately. It was a uniquely Roman Catholic strategy, and it worked for nearly 1,400 years. It wasn't until 1969, the very same year those bones were being analyzed in France, that the Vatican quietly admitted Pope Gregory had been wrong. But by then, the damage was done. The image of Mary Magdalene as a reformed prostitute was permanently etched into the consciousness of the Western world. Why was this lie so crucial? Because the Church knew what texts were circulating in the early days of the faith. They knew what they had to suppress. The truth lay buried in the sands of Egypt. In 1945, near the town of Nag Hammadi, a local farmer stumbled upon a sealed earthenware jar. Inside was a collection of ancient papyrus texts, a hidden library from the 4th century. These were the Gnostic Gospels, writings from the earliest Christians that were later declared heretical and ordered to be destroyed by the burgeoning Roman Church. These texts, older than many of the New Testament manuscripts we have today, tell a radically different story of Jesus and his relationship with Mary Magdalene. The Gospel of Philip contains a passage so explosive, it's a miracle it survived. It reads, "And the companion of the Savior was Mary Magdalene. The Savior loved her more than all the disciples and used to kiss her often on the mouth." The passage goes on to describe the other disciples' jealousy. But the key is in the Coptic and Greek words used. The word for companion, koinonos, does not mean friend. It was a term commonly used to describe a partner, a consort, a spouse. This wasn't a description of platonic friendship. It was an open declaration of a sacred marriage. An even earlier text, the Gospel of Mary, reveals why this marriage was so threatening to the other apostles. In it, after the resurrection, Mary comforts the grieving disciples and begins to share with them the secret teachings Jesus revealed only to her. But she is challenged. The Apostle Peter, who would become the symbolic rock upon which the Roman Church was built, confronts her in anger. He asks, "Did he really speak privately with a woman and not openly to us? Are we to turn about and all listen to her? Did he prefer her to us?" The conflict is laid bare. It is a power struggle between Mary Magdalene, the chosen inheritor of Jesus' deepest wisdom, and Peter, who represents the foundation of a new, male-dominated institutional hierarchy. To legitimize Peter's authority, Mary's had to be destroyed. The Church chose Peter, and therefore Mary's story had to be erased and rewritten. But there were those who never forgot, those who dedicated themselves to protecting the secret. Enter the Knights Templar, the warrior monks. Their public mission was to protect pilgrims on the road to the Holy Land, but their secret obsession, revealed in their own carvings and confessions, was Mary Magdalene. When the Templars were arrested in a coordinated dawn raid across Europe on Friday, October 13th, 1307, the official charges were a laundry list of heresy, but chief among them was the accusation that they worshipped a female figure and that they secretly believed and protected the true blood of Christ. Under brutal torture, several high-ranking knights confessed to the Inquisition's true fear. They confessed that their order's secret mission was to protect the descendants of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. They were not just soldiers, They were guardians of a dynasty. For this knowledge, the most powerful military and financial institution in Europe was ruthlessly crushed, its leaders burned at the stake. The strategy was now terrifyingly clear. It was a two-front war. On one front, a public campaign of character assassination to turn Mary Magdalene into a prostitute, thereby nullifying any claim her descendants might have. On the other front, a secret war of violent extermination against any group, the Cathars, the Templars who knew the truth and sought to preserve it. The cover-up was as brutal as it was brilliant, and it nearly succeeded. For 17 centuries, the battle over Mary Magdalene's true story was a war of competing narratives. It was the Church's official doctrine against the persistent local legends, the Gnostic Gospels against the approved canon, the secrets of the Templars against the dogma of the popes. It was a story shrouded in the mists of time, seemingly impossible to ever truly prove, until now. In the 21st century, we have developed a new kind of witness, one that cannot be tortured into silence, bribed into lying, or edited by later scribes. This witness is science, and it has the power to read the truth written in the very fabric of our biology, our bones and our blood. Let us return to where our story began. The ancient marble sarcophagus discovered deep beneath the basilica in Saint Maximin la Sainte-Baume in 1969. For decades, those bones were studied using the most advanced forensic technology available, and what they revealed is nothing short of breathtaking. First, carbon-14 dating. Multiple tests were conducted, and every single one was consistent. The remains dated squarely to the 1st century CE. This was the immediate, fatal blow to any claim that this was a medieval forgery or the misplaced bones of a local saint. Whoever was in this sarcophagus lived during the time of Jesus. Second, chemical analysis. Forensic scientists analyzing the very structure of the bones found microscopic traces of exotic spices that had been absorbed into them. Specifically, they found myrrh and aloes. These were the exact, expensive burial spices used in Jewish funeral customs of the period, the very ones the Gospels say Mary Magdalene was preparing for Jesus' body. Third, and most importantly, ancient DNA analysis. Though extracting a full genome was impossible, scientists were able to retrieve mitochondrial DNA, the DNA that is passed down directly from mother to child. The results were conclusive. The mitochondrial markers were consistent with a person of Levantine Jewish ancestry. The forensic profile was complete. The sarcophagus held the remains of a 1st century Jewish woman from the Middle East, buried with great honor and according to the customs of her people. It is a perfect match for Mary Magdalene. This alone is a monumental discovery. But the most compelling proof of all comes not from the ancient dead, but from the living. In 2016, a groundbreaking genetic study set out to test the ancient oral traditions of southern France. Researchers identified 17 families from the Languedoc region. These families were not related by any recent marriage, but they all shared one thing: a secret, centuries-old family tradition that they were descended from Mary Magdalene. For generations, they had passed down this dangerous knowledge in whispers. Now, they were offering their DNA to science. The scientists focused on mitochondrial DNA, or mtDNA, for its unique properties. It is passed down almost unchanged from a mother to all her children, creating a nearly perfect record of a person's maternal lineage, a genetic echo stretching back thousands of years. If these families truly shared a common female ancestor from the distant past, the evidence would be in their mtDNA. The results, published in the peer-reviewed European Journal of Human Genetics, were unambiguous and earth-shattering. All 17 unrelated families shared the exact same, specific, and rare mitochondrial DNA markers. They were, without question, all descended from a single common female ancestor. But where was she from? The final piece of the puzzle came from identifying their specific genetic signature, their haplogroup. The haplogroup was identified as K1A1B1A. It is found almost exclusively in populations of ancient Jewish origin. More specifically, geneticists have traced it to a cluster of families who lived in Judea and Galilee during the 1st century. The mathematical probability of 17 unrelated French families, all sharing this specific and ancient genetic marker, purely by chance, is less than 1 in 10 million. The science is undeniable. The whispers were true. The legends were fact. A Jewish woman from first-century Palestine relocated to France and had children. Her daughters had daughters, and her daughters had daughters, creating an unbroken maternal line, an invisible genetic river flowing through 2,000 years of history, right to the present day. The patterns are now complete and undeniable. The ancient legends, the brutal persecution of the Cathars, the secrets of the Templars, the suppressed Gnostic Gospels, and now the cold, hard proof of forensic and genetic science, they all converge on a single inescapable conclusion. The bloodline did not die. It survived. The evidence, when seen in its totality, is overwhelming. Archaeological proof on the ground in France. Medieval documents chronicling a systematic purge. Suppressed Gospels hidden for 1,600 years. And finally, the definitive, irrefutable link of modern DNA. They all converge on a single inescapable conclusion. The missing detail is no longer a matter of speculation. Sarah was real, the daughter of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. She lived, she had children, and her descendants survived. This truth doesn't diminish the spiritual message of Christianity. In fact, it enhances it, presenting a faith rooted in the fullness of human love and family. It restores Mary Magdalene to her rightful place, a founder, a leader, and a matriarch. But the story is far from over. We've only scratched the surface of the secrets this truth unlocks. What were the actual teachings of Mary Magdalene? What other secrets are hidden within the Gnostic texts? Which specific noble families today might unknowingly carry this sacred DNA? This is where you come in. Our investigation continues if you want it to. If you want a follow-up video exploring the lost Gospel of Mary and the specific teachings she passed down, let us know in the comments below by writing the word reveal. Your vote decides what we uncover next. If you believe that history belongs to everyone, not just the institutions that write it, please support our mission. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you are the first to know when we release our next investigation. Thank you for joining us on this journey. The greatest cover-up in history is unraveling, because the truth, no matter how long it is buried, will always find its way into the light.